Hi guys, welcome back to the Scrap Zone. I'm Julie, and in today's video, I'm joining the Craft Roulette Challenge episode 67. Together, we'll be creating a really pretty slimline card. So let's get started. First off, slimline was one of the parameters. Green, that was easy. Afternoon, it was a little bit difficult. And then foil or metallics. So for the afternoon, just in case I missed it, I actually found this really pretty quote, and I'm going to add that on the inside of my card. This holographic paper absolutely counts for foil or metallic. It is so pretty. And I gave myself an additional challenge. I really wanted to use this super pretty butterfly thin cut. Now, it's not made for slimline cards, but I'm going to show you how you can transform this and use it for a slimline card. So let's get started. I'm going to fold this in half and I'm going to add my holographic paper, and it is so pretty. It just shimmers and it's got a little tint of orange. Wonder what team I'm on. Anyways, I really liked it, and now that I'm looking at it, I think that it reminds me of a warm summer afternoon. There you go. I got that parameter. Here I'm showing you that I've stamped, or actually I've embossed in white, my title. I'm going to put that right in between those two pieces. But first I'm going to have to cut them down. Now they have a really pretty stitched border, and I love stitched borders, but for this application I'm going to trim this off right here. Just going to sneak that in there. I'm going to cut that off, and I'm going to trim it down to fit the width of my slimline card. So I just have to make sure not to snag those pretty butterflies. So I'm going to put that right at the top. And I was really toying with keeping the top stitch because I really like the stitching in like die cuts and thin cuts, but for this one here, just to give it proper continuity between the top and the bottom, I'm going to trim that off. So I've got this first piece right here. I'm going to trim the bottom piece. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to measure it off here. And this is a little trick that I learned from my friend Carrie. When you measure things off and you don't have a ruler, you've got your nails. So I'm just going to kind of make a little indent with my nail here, and I'm going to trim that right at that little mark. So that's a good tip. So we're going to trim that down, and I'm going to add that piece right at the bottom. Just like that. So you can kind of see where I'm going with this. I'm going to glue my little, it's kind of like a doily. It's very delicate, so you need like just a little bit of glue, like little dots of glue. Don't glue down the butterflies, because those little wings, we're going to curl them up once everything is nice and dry. So I'm going to sneak that right on the top of my card right here. I'm going to pop that down, and I'm going to let it dry, and I'm going to continue on and add the bottom piece. Now, if you don't know what the Craft Roulette is, it's a show. It's on every Friday evening. They have their own YouTube channel, so I'm going to link that down below. And our host, Mary, will spin a wheel and will give us 4 parameters. And this week, the parameters were really good. Or they were good for me. Some weeks, they're a little bit harder. So it's a lot of fun. A lot of people participate. And I've been a guest designer on our show, and sometimes I participate as everybody else, and sometimes I go on the show and we do live cards together. That's a little bit more stressful. So here I'm showing you that holographic paper, sometimes you get glue or fingerprints, and if you just use a cloth, like something to wipe your glasses, it comes right off. So I've got one in my scrapbooking room just for those occasions. So I'm going to trim off my vellum paper because I didn't really know how it was going to land on the card, so I made sure that it was a little bit longer. I'm going to trim that down, and this is the piece that is going to join my really pretty butterfly die cut from the top to the bottom. So before I do that, I want to curl those little wings. Now, you have to be careful because, as I mentioned before, this die cut is really delicate. It's like a doily. It's very, it's got a lot of intricate pieces, and when you curl those little wings down, you have to be careful. And you'll see why in a minute. Anyways, here I'm adding my little sentiment, and I was trying to figure out, okay, do I want to sacrifice the big butterfly that's not a full butterfly, or do I want to show off that cute one at the bottom and then just let his little wings sneak on top? And that's the one that won. So let's get back to curling or popping out all of those pretty butterflies on your card. And if you just pull them out just like so, when you put it back in the card, they're just going to flatten out. They're not going to have any shapes. But if you take a bone folder and gently pull on the wings, it looks like I'm pulling hard, and I kind of was actually, because, oh, there we go. We're going to need a little bit of butterfly surgery here. But it worked out just fine. I was able to add just a tiny little bit of glue and just sneak that right beside the body of the little butterfly. And I just push that in, and it really doesn't show at the end. It really, really doesn't show. But you have to be super gentle when you're trying to curl those little butterfly wings, because it's not holding on a large piece in the center. So just really gently pull back, and if you pull it out the way I did, there's always a little bit of butterfly surgery and everything looks pretty good at the end. So I'm going to add my little rectangle shape here, and I did hollow that out because I didn't want to waste that pretty paper. I'm using liquid glue here, and some glue, you can actually see the glue indentation on this paper, so you kind of have to be careful with it. But because this rectangle has a bit of a stitch to it, it doesn't really show. So I'm going to add my white piece in the center. But before I do that, you know what? I'm going to pull back this stamp that I have, and I'm going to add a few stamp images on the inside just to dress it up a tiny little bit. So I'm going to pull back on my image right here. I'm going to pop it on my desk and pick it up with my block. I find that it keeps its shape nicer when you do that. And here I'm showing you that I did print that on my printer, and then I just pop that right on with a little bit of washi tape. You just have to make sure to delete the black square so that it doesn't, or rectangle I should say, so that it doesn't stamp or print on your final piece. So here I'm testing it out, and I'm thinking, you know what, that espresso might be a little bit too dark. Second generation, yep, I really like that one. So I'm going to go ahead here and I'm going to stamp once and then twice for second generation stamping. And you kind of have to let it sit a little bit, and that looks really good. I just find that it dresses up that inside panel where the sentiment is. So I'm going to put one right here at the bottom. I'm going to make sure to leave enough space to write a nice sentiment. And there you have it. Like, I think that that looks really, really good. So the wheel always makes you think outside the box. Maybe that's why it's a wheel. And I don't think I would have created this card, but I was able to because I had set parameters to work with. And you know what? I'm in love with this card. I think I'm going to have to make a whole bunch. So we're going to pop that right in the center, and we're almost done, except for this here. So when you glue down vellum, it's always that thing where you don't want your glue to show on the back side. So I'm going to add a little dot here, a little micro dot. I'm going to sneak it right underneath at the top, so that when you pull it out of the envelope, it doesn't snag. And then I've brought in those really pretty confetti flowers, and I'm going to put that right on top of the glue dot. So that's a little trick on how to hide your glue when you are using vellum, because it's always a bit of a challenge, right? So let's look at those parameters one last time. Slimline card, got that one. Yep. Green, that was easy. Afternoon was a little bit hard for me, but I think that the holographic paper, the orange glow, and the afternoon and the sentiment on the inside, that counts, so I'm good. And then the foil or metallic, again, the holographic paper hits that parameter really, really nicely. So once again, if you'd like to learn more about the Craft Roulette Challenge, I will link their YouTube channel down below, and come and join us and see what all the fun is all about. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and I will post a few other videos here that I think you might just like. Have yourself a fantastic day. Thanks for watching.